please.
Motion.
Moved by Chuck, second by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda questions. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than one, and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you are here as an individual, please give us your name and address. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes. Yes.
Evelyn Slockbauer, 43 Thunderhead Place. I just had a question regarding N, the Mahwah Township School Board goals. Continue to increase the level of communication with the community. I'd like to see, as far as the agendas, any of the documentation as an attachment to the agenda in the future, sometime in the future. I would like to see that. So when you go to the agenda, you can click on the attachment and say, okay, this is what they were referring to, because they're all public documents on the agenda.
That's exactly the list as we put it together. There is no other documentation behind that.
Well, I know that when you refer to the financial reports, that's a separate document, right? The budget is a separate document. There's all kinds of separate documents that, you know, I've put in Oprah's for to Ed. And that's what I mean is by being able to go to it and say, okay, well, they're referring to, you know, I'll give an example, hold on, because there's one right at the beginning here, which I've gotten copies of, the maintenance plan one, right? And that's a document which is not in the agenda, but if the agenda is posted, you could have it as an attachment on the website. So you can say, okay, this is what they were referring to. Okay?
You can tell me what to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Dr. Schoen.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things before I turn it over for our district testing presentation. The first is this weekend, the Mahwah School Foundation held its Mahwah School Foundation Run at Darlington Park. Although it was probably about 50 degrees or so in the morning, there were so many runners doing the 5K and the 10K, and parents and so many vendors that participated and donated food. There's a great deal of money that comes from that event. I had the opportunity to attend as well. It's really amazing. The children enjoy it as much as the many teachers that were there and the parents. So a real big thank you on behalf of the Board of Education for everything that the Mahwah School Foundation does for our district. It was really wonderful. Also, congratulations to the high school marching band. The marching band Thunderbirds took first place finish at the U.S. Bands Group 4A competition that took place Sunday, October 12th at Bergenfield High School. The band won all caption awards, including Best Music, Best Effect, Best Visual, Best Color Guard, and Best Percussion. They also received the highest score in the entire A-class division out of all groups. So a huge congratulations, huge. Just amazing. I also want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about Yvonne Beatrice, the social studies teacher over at the high school. I'm sure many of you have already heard of a show called Classroom Close-Up. If you have not, it is a half-hour television program that spotlights innovative programs in New Jersey public schools. Over the course of the next month, Ms. Yvonne Beatrice and her students, those who graduated last year, will be featured on Classroom Close-Up. One occurred this Sunday, October 19th. It's also going to go on October 25th, November 23rd, November 29th at 12:30 and 7:30 p.m. So if you look up Classroom Close-Up. I had the opportunity when I was a principal about 15 years ago to be on Classroom Close-Up for a program called Have a Heart. And it is really amazing what it does for a school district to have a program featured on something like Classroom Close-Up, because it's looked at by parents and by educators who really appreciate the great stuff we're doing in schools. So if you have the opportunity to look at that over the course of the next month or so, you really should. Our congratulations certainly to Ms. Beatrice, to Mr. Pascal, who of course allowed the whole Mahwah project and that to occur. Thank you very much. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Ulmer, our principal over at GW and our data man, as well as his sidekick, Dominic Liana, who is our director over guidance over at the high school, to do our district testing presentation. It's all yours.
Thank you.
Mr. Fair next to me will be the clicker, so if there's a problem with movement of the slides, please don't blame Kevin or Dominic.
Thank you, good evening. Dominic and I always look forward to this night because in a district like Mahwah, it kind of becomes a mini celebration of our accomplishments. And certainly we'll see many of those accomplishments tonight. It is a bit of an end of an era because it's the last testing report we will give that includes data with NJS as the state makes the transition to the PARC assessment. Any report at the district level, I think it can really be viewed as a measure of success of our school community and our commitment to work together, whether it's the board providing our schools with the resources we need to be successful, our teachers taking the time to make every minute of each class very, very meaningful, the administrative team working together to really make sure that those high expectations are maintained, and of course our parents taking the time each night to work with their students at home and support our schools. All of those things are reflected in results that we'll look at tonight. And I just ask that everyone, and I certainly think this is the approach that we take in the schools, it's one measure of our success. And to keep that in perspective, certainly we're very proud of our students' achievements, but we are defined by much more than just one set of test results. And I think all of our students do many, many things throughout the year. There are significant accomplishments. Testing happens to be the most public measure, I think, for any school. So for better or for worse, we're measured by our test results, and we'll take a look at them tonight. First slide just shows our district factor group. In their slides tonight, you'll see Mahwah's results compared to the district factor group and to the state. As you can see at that list of towns and school districts there, that we are paired with a group that's historically very high achieving districts. Partly due to the demographic that we have in the town, the demographic of the other towns on the list. But certainly I think when we look at our peer group in terms of district factor group, there's a collection of very high achieving schools. Start off obviously with grade 3, our first tested grade in district, looking at NJS results in English language arts and in math. Our presentation tonight is very similar to last year as the focus is on total proficiency, which is proficiency combined with advanced proficiency. And we chose that measure because that is the measure that is used when you see schools compared statewide in papers and different publications. Total proficiency is always the primary measure. You can see our third grade class, if you go back, performed very, very well last year on the assessment, outperforming the DFG significantly in English language arts and the state as well, and similar results in math. What you will see throughout the presentation is kind of a common theme of us outperforming the state and in most cases outperforming our district factor group. Fourth grade, you can see here that this is one of the spots where we did not outperform our district factor group in English language arts. However, we did in math, and we were just slightly below in science. Obviously, the goal for us is to outperform the district factor group and be above that average. And we look at these results and we reflect on what we've done. Certainly the team at JK, and I know Dr. Vittorio and Dr. Vivino have looked at the results carefully, and one thing that they came up with is that with the area of informational text, which has been a big transition with Common Core, moving to those nonfiction texts, it's something that when they looked at the scope and sequence of their program, that they pushed some things forward so the students would have more exposure to those texts before the assessments. Yep.
So you probably told me this before, and I copied it.
Happy to answer.
When we do this testing, right, every individual in the grade level takes the test.
Correct.
Correct? And that's as it should be. Is it the case that other districts are looser in that pursuit?
I would not really be able to answer if their guidelines are any different than ours. I will tell you that in district here, all of our students do take the assessment, and the state assessment, whether it's the NJS or the HESPA, with the exception of our most severely disabled students and challenged students who take a portfolio assessment called the APA.
That's if I may, Kevin, that's across the board, Chuck. The answer is yes.
Okay.
It's not a looser.
Okay.
We all have the same requirements as far as testing.
Thank you.
If I may also add that the English language arts results, and you addressed this, Kevin, somewhat, dropped across the state overall. So it's not that that's an excuse, it's just our reality that everyone went down. Perhaps it was fewer questions, but it did.
Looking at 5th grade, where again we have English language arts and math, outperforming the district factor group and the state in math, and slightly below in English language arts, but less significant difference in 4th grade. Moving on to grade 6, you'll see we're at where we hoped we would be in terms of outperforming the district factor group in the state in both areas. 7th grade, slightly below in English language arts, well above the district factor group in math, and of course, outperforming the state as we should. Moving on to grade 8, a very, very slight difference between us and the district factor group in English language arts. When we look at 92.7% and 92.9%, the district factor group outperforming the district factor group in math, and just slightly below the district factor group in science.
I'm sorry, I can't remember this either. How many years have we been doing this testing now?
Yes.
Yeah.
At least 10 years. Does it go further back than 10 years?
It does, but it was called something
Yeah.
different.
Wasn't it?
We changed the name.
It was
Gap.
My son was in 3rd grade when it started, and he's a senior.
Okay.
10 years.
So 10 years.
Nice, Ken.
Okay. So we're used to it now.
We're used to it.
So we're going to
changing
change it.
But
So we're changing it
All right,
now.
just checking.
we're going to embrace that change.
No, I understand.
We're going to embrace that change and meet that
As
challenge.
soon as we start to get meaningful data that we can trend,
There we go.
we eliminate it, right?
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I'm just checking, I want to make sure I understand.
Yes, you've got it.
Thank you. Well, for clarification too, and it may make matters more confusing, but we will continue to use the ask to measure achievement in science in grades 4 and 8. So the ask isn't completely gone, it's still here for a select few of our students. In grade 11, outperforming the district factor group in the state in both language arts, literacy, and math. If you look just kind of, and I'll give you the summary, in every case, grade 3 through 11 that was tested, we outperformed our district factor group in math. There were 4 instances when we did not outperform the district factor group in English language arts. However, we were very, very close. And that's what you're looking for year to year. I think that you're going to see that in most cases we will outperform the district factor group. Since I've been presenting and really looking at data, that's been the trend. In any given year, we're looking at areas. Last year, I think we had 2 areas where we did not outperform the district factor group. This year, we have 4. It's a different test. Similarities between the different tests, and there's variables. We're dealing with people, not products, right? We're dealing with kids. And there's things that affect our students that go far beyond the realm of sitting for a standardized test.
Mr. Saldarini's point, though, is noteworthy. You know, you take a look at this, and your first response as an educator is, okay, what do we do to fix this? What do we do with our curriculum? What do we do with our instruction? And we could figure out those areas of weaknesses within each of the cluster results for every single grade level, but that's not necessarily going to be applicable as we move forward with a different test in a different format. So it's unfortunate, Chuck, but that's our story. Except in science, that would be correct, and right.
The state must be performing well on the science side.
No, they just haven't worked on the new test.
Oh, they haven't
yet.
done the new, okay.
Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, there's no.
In terms of our reporting requirements, we report separately on students with disabilities. So here's just the data table. It shows you throughout all the grades, our students with disabilities, number of students who took the NJS or the HESPA, and our results of that small group of students compared to the district factor group in the state. Less predictability when we look at our scores from our special ed students, because really each student is very, very unique and is presented with different challenges. So that will vary year to year in terms of what our results are. But if you look at the table, there are instances where we fall below the district factor group, instances where we are far above, and I think that is more reflective of the individual students that are part of those bigger subgroups, as opposed to systemic programs or problems that we may see with curriculum.
It's also a smaller number of students, so the greater the deviation you have. If there is one student out of 22 who scores partially proficient, that's going to affect the overall score far differently than it would in a cohort of 44. So that makes a
And students with disabilities is a blended cohort with a wide range of
That is
disabilities.
correct, and that's what Kevin just said, it doesn't speak to.
Same data table, just comparing math results for the 2014 year. I briefly mentioned the alternate proficiency assessment when we talked about students who do not participate in taking the NJS or the HESPA. You'll see in terms of the number of students that participate in the APA, these are students that are severely challenged. They're typically part of our self-contained programs because their capabilities and their challenges do not allow them to really access the regular education curriculum. This assessment, historically, it's the submission of a portfolio with evidence, and there is a bit of subjectiveness there in terms of scoring. It's not, I wouldn't say as reliable in terms of scoring as the NJS or the HESPA, but certainly we put our best foot forward and do whatever we can to ensure that our students are making progress.
This next chart shows our graduation rate. Last year, class 2014 was the biggest class in the history of Mahwah High School. So we graduated more students last year, 286. Our average this year, our senior class is 252. So that's we're back on par with our regular numbers, stuff that was going on in Mahwah, I guess, 16, 17 years ago. We got this total influx of students. But our graduation rate is close to 99%. Again, with the biggest graduating class in Mahwah High School history, the beauty of this slide and these numbers are the number of students who attended 4-year, 2-year technical schools, post-secondary schools, 95.7%. So in that enormous class, students still achieved and shot for shooting for the 4-year and post-secondary education. Our 4-year college numbers went up almost 9%, 10%. In 4-year college, 85.7%. And our 2-year college numbers dropped a little bit. Students, and I think we discussed this last year, where students were looking into 2-year college route because due to economic situation, economic concerns. And so now students are, and parents are feeling a little more comfortable. And I think they're being a little smarter in the schools that they're selecting. Students have been choosing schools that are a little closer to home, and so financially it's not as big of a burden on the family, so they can settle in at a 4-year school and be successful and not come out with a huge debt at the end. Okay. Our SAT scores, okay? The first column is 2014, the top column is critical reading, math, writing. Our SAT numbers still are solid. They're just solid across the board. Slight fluctuations, but for the most part, our numbers stay consistent. You know, our math numbers put up a 600. The average Mahwah students with a 600 in math. That's a really significant number, and we're 150 points above the total for the state. So our SAT program, the classes that the board has allowed us to run for students to improve their SAT scores are really showing dividends. And the consistency year in, year out of those numbers is really very impressive. ACT. The ACT, more colleges are accepting the ACT. It's equivalent to the SAT. It's actually, I'm more partial to the ACT. I think it's a better test because it has that science component. Our scores in the ACT, and we've only been really tracking data because over the last 2 years, we have more of a significant pool now. But our scores from last year to this year have gone up at least a half a point in each of the sections, and in the science almost a full point, and we are 2 points better in the composite, which is the average of all 4 scores, better than the state. So this is a test that our students are really gravitating to because of our strong math and science. And that's why I like the ECT for our kids, because of our strong math and science program. The composite scores that the college looks at, so you average it, so if the student's a little deficient or a little weaker in one area, the strength of the math or the science or another area brings the composite together, and that's what the college looks at. our composite score would be the equivalent to about a 1,700 on the SAT, which is consistent to where we are.
Could you just go back to the other slide for just a quick second on the SATs?
Mhm.
So what's happening with the writing piece? Is the College Board
Oh,
getting ready to give up on it completely?
Exactly. The College Board has gotten smart because they realize ACT is taking a big chunk of their pie.
Right.
So in 2 years, there'll be a new SAT, and the writing section will be optional, just like it is for the ACT.
Okay.
You're not going to the science section yet, but they're just making it more based on what curriculum-based as far as what we're doing.
So the sort of original, traditional two
Mhm.
numbers.
They're
will
going
come
back to
the-
1600.
Okay.
And I guess it goes to the point of our other scores, and when we start getting consistent data, now we have to
Gotcha.
switch up.
Yep.
I don't want to get too comfortable. SAT subject tours. Okay, these are 1-hour tests students can take. Students can take up to 3 on any given Saturday. Fewer and fewer schools are actually looking at the SAT subject test, but they are for our students who are looking at those upper tier schools. The number that just absolutely leaps off the page, if you follow that, Mahwah High School, 2014, the blue column, math level 2, 721. Significantly better than the country and a lot better than the state, but that number that's a beast of a number, 721 in math. And again, our math program and these numbers really reflect, from kindergarten all the way up, the amount of the way our math curriculum is working and the numbers we have. AP, biggest class in Mahwah High School history. We had 231 test takers, a significant jump from the year before. And the beauty of this slide is that our numbers, our percentage of scores 3 or better, which I'll go into a little more detail about that. Okay, it looks like it's a drop, but obviously the number of students who are taking the test and factors in. 21 advanced placement courses at Mahwah High School, 231 students, that 475 exams in 22 different disciplines. We have students taking AP tests in classes we don't even offer, which is great.
How many of the students that took the AP exams actually scored high enough to pick up college credit exams that they took?
Well, our average is 89%. So of those, you can see on the next slide, I'll show you which ones have the averages right down. Go ahead to the next one. All right, so this is the score average. And if you look down that yellow column, college will accept credit, will give credit for students who score 3, 4, or 5. So if you're looking down that line, that column, our average is significantly above 3.0, which is college will accept. I met with the Tufts representative today, and some of our students are entering college with 1 full semester or better under their belt. So if you think about the financial gain, okay, where a student sits for an AP test, $89, and then will have, if he scores a 3, 4, or 5 on one of these exams, saves his parents that extra 3 credits. Okay, so some students can graduate a year early, because some of our students will take 7, 8 exams, AP exams, and those credits in most schools, and with 3, 4, 5 will transfer over. And the idea is that the confidence that our students have. They can sit through the exams, they know they're going to score well, and they're coming out a year early out of college. And when we talk about the financial burden of college, coming out a year early and saving that money is huge. Okay. Again, our scores, 3s across the board. Studio art. Bill Kustra retired a couple years ago, who ran the art department and taught studio art for, God, how long, 30 years or so. And so we have some new blood in the art department and doing a wonderful job. But we are an AP District Honor Roll recipient for the 2nd year. Now, what that means, that we are one of just 477 schools in the country who have simultaneously achieved more students taking an AP test and our scores remaining the same 3 or better. So we're still at 89%, but we're only one of 477 schools. In our district factor group, we're one of 4 schools. The district factor group of our high schools are one of 4 schools who have achieved more students taking and remain consistent with the scores. And we're the only school to do it 2 years in a row.
Wow.
Northern Valley, your Northern Highlands, your Tenaflies, Ridgewood, they didn't do well.
Not that we're dropping any names there, Dominic.
No, it's all data.
Those reporters in the audience trying to.
Boston College, Cornell, Dartmouth, Duke, Fordham, Georgia Tech, George Washington, Harvard, Lehigh, Miami, Michigan, TCNJ, NYU, UNC, Northeastern, Naval Academy, University of Pennsylvania, Yale, Syracuse, Wellesley, Vermont, Villanova, Ohio State, Gettysburg, Wagner, all our students.
Finally!
Okay. Our students are getting into and we've got one in England and one in Canada. Last year, the class of 2014, $16 million in scholarships. And many of that scholarship is spread out over 4 years. So as we talk about this data, and as Kevin eloquently stated from the beginning, it's just one measure of what we do here at Mahwah High School. And we watch the fluctuations going from 3rd grade to 4th grade to 6th grade. You look at our SAT scores at the end, and you see where our students wind up. They wind up at some of the best. They wind up at the best institutions in the country. And not only do they succeed at that level, but the quality of students that we're producing, the character, the discipline, the work ethic, is attributed to all our faculty, staff, supervisors, and our community. This is a very special place. It really is. And our data shows that, and our students, when they come back, they have nothing but high regards for our district. And the first question I always ask students when I see them on alumni day is, how prepared were you for college? And most of them will say that high school was harder than college. They're more than prepared. So on behalf of me, for Kevin and me, thank you for coming, and just a round of applause for teachers, faculty.
Dominic, I don't think you could have said it better, and Kevin started it this way. It is but one measure, but this measure is a total result of K-12 all the way up. Our administration, our principals, our supervisors and administrators, many of whom are here this evening in support of you, the two of you and their colleagues, and in support of the district testing results, because they know they're part of it as well, and to our parents who support what it is that we are up to here. Thank you. Great job, both
Thank
of
you very, very much. Really appreciate it. Dominic, one of the things, and I think, Kevin, you touched on this too, I'm glad the SAT program, is working. If there's any way that we can up that for you, for the students, I'd love to, I know the board would love to talk about it. And Kevin, you made a point, and to Mike and Linda, when you've got a principal that can look at this data and say, oh, we need to switch something up, best thing we can ever hear. If, and whatever we can do to make that change, we're here for the asking. So congratulations to everybody, the principals, supervisors that came tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we're good. We're really good, and I'm proud of it. So I thank you, and you don't have to stay for the rest, I promise. Unless
Kevin, you
really
did say it was your favorite meeting of the year.
No, he doesn't mean the rest
So we
of
get
the
to
meeting.
celebrate. We can't celebrate too hard here, so maybe we'll have to...
No, ask Linda, I just told her that.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody,
Bye.
appreciate it. They are,
Good numbers.
especially when you hear, the AP
Yeah.
classes,
Yeah.
2 years in a row,
Yeah.
we're only 1 of 4 in our DFG.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That is impressive.
477 national is pretty slick too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, we're the only one, that did it in the DFG group.
Right, we're the one of four.
Two in a
Yeah,
row.
two in a row. Right. And
Yeah.
steady.
That it is. And they great presentation. So
You like it?
yes. So let's get working on that one.
Oh, you want to tell people?
Shh, don't tell anybody. They'll move tomorrow.
No. Yeah, that would be terrible.
Open issues. I don't think we have any right now, do we? Dennis?
Briefly,
No,
Okay.
good to go.
Okay, briefly, I
Thank
just
you.
want to highlight the work that our supervisors have been doing. I've been doing formal observations of supervisors, and they've been doing some incredible things instructionally. Verena, this is her first year with us. As a former ELA guy, I'm really proud that she's taking my place. They have been doing a wonderful job in moving teachers forward through the somewhat arduous SGO process and getting our schools prepared for the park. So, good job. That's why I wanted you to stay. Now you can go. All right, enjoy
I'm
your
saying
night.
go, he's saying no, she stays. I'm saying no, it's just a conversation we're having right now.
And that's it.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks, Verena.
Thanks, Verena.
Thank you.
Ed?
No, I'm good.
That's good. I really don't have a president's report. I do have an instructional report that I'm going to keep brief, standard-based report cards have been introduced. I think at all the elementaries at this point, parents have been coming to the meetings to find out what all this means. Obviously, I think the first time it goes out, there will be more questions from parents, but Chris has done a phenomenal job getting out there and making sure that parents really have the information needed. I know Dennis went a couple of times with Christine, Lauren went. So again, I don't think we'll be talking about this until after the first one goes out. And then I think Christine will probably let us know, what, or the principals, what the response was.
Tricia, if I may, we are going to do a piece in our newsletter that comes out in November that's going to talk about this as well, because some parents couldn't attend the meeting.
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure
Yeah.
that it's out there. The principals are very familiar with this,
Yes.
as are the teachers. So when we do begin to roll it out, so there'll be a lot of people who will help us through it. I really think it's going to be awesome.
Yep, I do too. And again, thanks to Christine, because she's really been out there and putting this out. We're going to approve, did I see this on the agenda?
You did?
I did, okay. 2 addendums to all of our curriculum. Christine, again, has worked on this, and it basically applies pre-K through 12 to all curricula that our students are faced with. And it's just a common theme, and if anybody wants to take a look at these, they're common themes that are seen in each grade level, allowing the teachers to see the interdisciplinary connections between grade levels and what students should be learning for 21st century skills. A great job, we've never had this before, that commonality that allows the teacher to see that movement. So our thanks to Christine again. Go.
Was not in place previously.
We have
I mean,
never
it's a de novo document that she basically took the initiative
to create herself.
Pretty
The other thing it does is it
impressive.
provides differentiation strategies for all the different learners that would be in a classroom. Again, we've never had this before. Christine prepared it all by herself, and I'm so proud to add this to all of the curricula.
What's really great about this, if I may,
Yep.
and I'm sorry.
Please do.
This again. All of the things in this document we do, and our teachers do every day.
Mhm.
But what's really great is that if you have a new novice teacher coming on board, and we're saying differentiate your instruction and make those interdisciplinary connections. And they've learned some certainly through their schooling. This is a document that allows them to say, okay, graphic organizers, and I can do cubing, and I can do complex instruction, and I can do this. It gives them those springboards to moving forward. So the work that Christine did on this and putting it all together is really as valuable as a document just for ELA or just for math. So you are right, and Chuck, you're absolutely right. It's nice that it is all together in one piece, and I think it'll be very useful across the board, having everything we already do in writing.
In one place.
I think
Yeah,
that's great.
I think it's great.
So, would this be something that if you did staff training, since we're rolling it out now, that this is something that would be introduced and explained to them all, or it's just going to show up in the curriculum?
They're going to, the curriculum is posted online on a server, but as I said to them, they do this already. So they can certainly go back and look and learn certainly, but they're aware of what's in here already because they already incorporate it. It's not brand new, like they've never seen these concepts before. Does that make sense?
But if you have a new teacher that you do an observation on, you could, and maybe there's something slightly lacking, you can direct them to this
To
document
this.
and say, take a look at it, and because you'll see different ways that you could present this. And it's more of a reference document, I think, for the teachers, but it puts everything that we do in terms of teaching and methodology for the strategies in one place.
I mean, long-term substitute situation where
Oh, yeah,
somebody may come
yeah.
in who hasn't had
Just a
the latest,
valuable
greatest in
document.
DI and can
Very.
at least look at a reference document.
It's really,
Pretty
really,
impressive stuff.
very well done.
Sorry I had to ask about being on the, I don't know why I missed that. We are going to, we're not seeing this tonight, but we will be changing some of the grading policies for courses that are more project-based. Some of them, film is literature, the theater arts, creative writing, that kind of digital media. And the last one would be the Enduring Myths, the online course. What we do right now, it's not reflective of how we really need to grade for these types of classes. We agreed not to try and implement it now, because we are midway through a semester. We don't want to change from, you know, a grading policy midway through the year for the second part of it. So you guys will be seeing this, I would imagine, in the spring for implementation 15-16 school year. You guys want to just take a look, and then we can pass it over here. We will be starting the Park-like K-5 assessments for science and social studies. Again, that will be coming down the pike with curriculum writing hours. So, that's all I have for instruction. Facilities. Anything on policy, Doug?
Policy, there are first readings this
Yes.
evening, there's at least 5 of them. The only one I want to point out, if you want to take some time reading through it, is the first one listed, 2412. It's got some, it says several minor revisions, but also several significant revisions. They're all mandated. And what it calls out is the new code eliminates the requirement that the teacher providing home instruction must be certified at the student grade level and/or special need of the student. The new code only requires that the teacher be certified. And secondly, the new code eliminates the number required of instruction hours for a student for home instruction due to temporary or chronic health conditions. So something that you might want to spend some time on.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and then there's a second reading. There's at least one.
On the weapons policy, were there any significant changes?
Everything else was minor for revisions.
Scary times we live in when you start seeing that, right?
What, if I may?
Sure.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Not at all. There are minor revisions. What it just does is it includes more people. It used to be a weapons policy that just really focused on the student bringing in a weapon. Now what the weapons policy is focusing in on are the concern for students who bring in a weapon because they want to do something more specific with it to a teacher or to an administrator. So they've included not just a student bringing in a weapon to hurt another student, but what could happen in policy and regulation if that were brought in for others. So they're minor. And a lot of these, as Doug said, they're all mandated policies, and a lot of them are just bringing them up to code. If the statute changes a little bit, then a couple of the words change, but the overall premise does not. Most of our policy updates are because of that. Is that help?
Yeah, it's on policies, that's why,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, it's
a
good question.
An hour, 2 hours, or something.
Yeah, sometimes they're minor, we haven't yet, and I'm sure it will come about that we'll create a policy because there's something occurring in our world and we have to do that, but most of these are just mandated and we move along to stay up to code.
And just add, all the policies are online and available on
Yep.
the page.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Executive, I would like to point out, I think it's 15N, as was questioned earlier. One of the things that the executive committee was thinking along the lines of this is maybe beginning a tech committee of the board again. something we might want to consider. We're not going to get what we want done basically at a board table, I don't think. I think it's got to be some ideas whether or not, you know, we can come up or get an app that is specific to Mahwah, specific to a school, that kind of stuff.
We've already started looking into the app. Rick Silver brought it up last year. We've
Yeah.
interviewed a couple of different companies. Here's the problem we're running into with an app. We can get an app for the Mahwah School District where you can just hit it on your iPhone or your what's it?
Android.
Because I'm only an iPhone person. Or your Android phone, and you can get the website, very similar to what you can do if you look on Google. What we want our app to do is to be instant with alerts.
Yes.
So when we do an alert on our website, if we have a school closing, we want you to be able to hit that app on your Android or your iPhone, and that alert pops up right away. Right now, we're having some background trouble with working through that. So we need to find a company who will allow those alerts to work with our, it's not background, what's the word I'm looking for? The back part of the tech. No, wait, they do behind the scenes with technology. Thank you.
Back end.
What did I say, background?
Yeah.
So back end is
Okay.
what I'm referring to. So we're having some issues with that, but we're looking into it, so I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
That's our issue.
I'd prefer to do this when we're a full board, if you don't mind, in terms of putting together the tech committee. I don't know about the other two wanting to be on it. So if we could hold up and put the tech committee together at a later date, but still take a look at these goals tonight. Chuck, negotiations?
Yes, so the report is positive. We have verbal agreement on terms and conditions and money, and we are in the final stages of just generating the appropriate paperwork, which is in the form of salary guides that have to be approved as part of the deal. And then the membership has a vote scheduled, I believe, in the next, I'm going to say shortly. I'll say shortly because I don't know the exact date.
So we should have the memorandum of agreement at the next meeting?
We should be able to vote on it at the next meeting,
November
is
23rd.
my view at this time.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Present.
thank you.
Suzanne, Schools Foundation?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Dr. Schoen said, that they did a wonderful job again. And I heard that their numbers were consistent all around with last year, which means people just keep coming, so that's great.
It was really a great event. They do such a great job.
They do.
They really do.
And it was cold on Sunday.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
They seem to be doing well with getting a good day, though. Cold, yes, but we've had, but not very often, so.
It was great. I didn't run the 5K or the 10K, but I did run with the kindergartners.
Oh,
And they-
did you win?
It was adorable. I came in last. I'd like to tell you it was on purpose, but they can run. It was great. It was really great. It was neat. It was neat to do. Kids are so
Last and
excited.
trying.
Last and trying, yeah.
Last and trying, yes.
Anything else? Any other board member remarks? Okay, all business, minutes, 14A. Moved by John Dolan, second by Chris Davis. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Ebenetti?
Yes.
Yes.
And Mrs. Curry?
Abstain.
And Mrs. Charlotte?
Yes. I'd like to move 15A through O. There's one change, an addition of a teacher and a conference. Moved by Chris. Second by Chuck. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Ebenetti?
Yes.
Mrs. Salterini? Mrs. Curry?
Yes.
And Mrs. Charlotte?
Yes. I'd like to move 16A through M. Note there are a couple of asterisks that were not on your Friday edition of the agenda. Moved by Chris, second by Suzanne. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Ebenetti?
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
Salterini? Mrs. Curry?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlotte?
Yes. Item 17, public questions or comment. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes. Questions?
Evelyn Slockow, 43 Thunderhead Place. Dr. Schoen, just for the Ramapo Ridge HSO parents, could you just give just a brief description of, we talk a lot about the integration of the 21st century themes and skills. Could you just give a little blurb for me to take back to them?
Absolutely. Do you
Thank
want me
you.
to, I'll certainly do it now. Do you want me to email something to you
Oh,
as
yeah,
well?
that would be great. If you want to do that, you could do that,
Yeah, what I'm just thinking is that then you'll get all those pieces together and you'll be able to incorporate that, if that's all right with you.
That's fine, that's
That's
totally
fine.
fine.
Plan?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
What we're missing.
Okay, no? Okay, one more question. I'd like to find out where the bidding process is with the electrical gear switch.
We will be opening bids on the 31st.
Okay, sorry. Okay. I just wanted to just address, as far as, I know comments have been made about public presentations here at the Board of Ed being considered public presentations to the community. The only issue I have with that is the agenda for the Board of Ed meetings is only posted sometimes only the day before, either Tuesday or Monday of the week. So although this presentation is wonderful, if parents don't even realize that the presentation is going to be at the Board of Ed meeting, everyone's busy, like I think that they should have more notice that something they may be interested in is going to be publicly presented here, and that's, your presentation to the community.
Okay, so the beginning part of your question, and I'm sorry, I
Sorry.
was talking to Debbie.
That's okay.
I think though, based on the board goals, that'll be something that we will probably address in terms of getting that information out, maybe not having the agenda sent out any earlier, but maybe an announcement that this kind of presentation will be made. And that's one of the things I think we need to work on in terms of the communication. So I think that's something that that will fall under that board goal.
Okay.
And as far as the agenda is concerned, Mrs. Slackberry, that's a very good question. We're taking resolutions to put on the agenda up until Friday afternoon at
I
3
understand
o'clock.
that. I
And
understand
business just
that.
keeps going on, and we want to get it on there, and we want to get it exactly right. And one of the reasons that Ms. Schott always talks about the asterisks is because we're both on the same page with we don't really want it much different than what it is that goes out publicly. This week it did go out on Tuesday. We had a little situation going on Monday, so it didn't. But typically it does Monday afternoon. And the reason for that is the board gets it Friday afternoon. They need the opportunity to look at it. We can get a phone call Monday morning that says remove resolution 13 because we're not interested in moving forward at this point. I could have that. So we prefer doing that kind of stuff behind the scenes before it goes out publicly.
And I have no issue with that. It's just the presentations. If this is your community presentation, then if parents don't know about it, how can they make the effort to come?
I think it's a good point. We can always send it out in that Friday e-blast as well, which I don't know if that's what you're going to say, Ms. Curry, that will allow it to focus on there specifically.
Okay.
These really are the type of things that we need to work
These
on.
sorts of presentations back up on the website as well.
The testing presentation absolutely goes on the website.
The information, yeah.
Right, but it doesn't change the notification.
No, but we can do a notification for that. I think that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, we could, notification meeting with the Friday e-blast, but even when we put up something like these great numbers, perhaps we can send out in an e-blast or Friday notes, check our website for the presentation.
That's a great idea. We
That
did
they
a
have
district
two
presentation.
options.
If you missed it, check it out. That's
Yeah.
a great idea. Good idea.
Again, I think, these are the kinds of things we need to nail down under those board goals. Or you guys need to nail down under these board goals.
And there should be like an archive page, like you should be able to go to a page and access, the last year's documents that, have been referred to, whether it's the financial reports, I know the budget is up there. I know where the documents are, but I know a lot of the rest of the community don't, because sometimes you have to dig for them. Yeah. And then I love videotaping you guys, but I would also envision that one day you guys are videotaping yourselves and putting it up there like the Ridgewood schools do and some of the other schools, that they actually, videotape their own meetings, so.
We've been having a hell of a time getting scores, Stacy. That's been our hang
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah, he's been a little
not
busy
being able to
recently.
get the right director for the site.
No, that's falling on. No. Any other questions?
It's okay, I'm just ignoring them.
I don't know why. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Chris? Second by Suzanne. Just wrote. All in favor?